Carbon dating of Quranic manuscripts can result in such wide range of dates, even when these folios come from the same early Quranic manuscript. In a case like this, can we really trust it to show when these manuscripts were written? We talked about the carbon dating of Quranic manuscripts and the difficulties in doing so, and Shoemaker also commented on that difficulty, and he used one of the articles by Van Putten and showed how really challenging that might be if you tried to use carbon dating to prove a point concerning the accuracy of when a manuscript was written. Today, with me here in studio, Dr. Jay Smith, of course, as always, to unpack all of this, but we're going to talk about one example or one other example using the Sana manuscript. Dr. Jay, welcome back.
Yes, hello. The Sana manuscript. This is the manuscript, of course, that was discovered in 1975, and the German scholars were flown down in 1981 to look at it. Gerhard Prinn, Dr. von Bothmer, Dr. Oleg, and they saw immediately that this is a very old script because it had no dots, no vowels on it. It had the type of script that would have existed in the late 7th century, moving into the 8th century. And of course, that was exciting, and it was all over the world. I remember that article by Leicester where they quoted Dr. Gerhard Prinn. We'll be talking about that later on. But this radiocarbon dating is what we're talking about right now. And what they did, you have, according to what the Shoemaker said in 2007, there appears to be some real problems with obtaining an accurate date for this folio. And that's why it was sent to Radiocarbon Laboratory. And it was in 2007, and they used in the University of Arizona, they used what they call the accelerator mass spectrometry, or the AMS is what it's known in shorter form, in Arizona to do some radiocarbon datings. In 2010, Benham Sadeghi, who's from Iran, he teaches now at Stanford, and you also have Uwe Bergman, who is from Germany, who is really an expert. This is his area of field, is radiocarbon dating. He also works at Stanford. So these two professors, one from Iran, one from Germany, came and they wrote up on the findings from the 2007 findings.
Yeah, it's the Sana one, basically.
The Sana one, yeah. And it was purchased at Sotheby's in 1993. What's fascinating, because the result that they got, and we're going to look in that result, because when you look at, they said that if you look at the results, it puts that manuscript or that section that they tested within 15 years of Muhammad's death. So mid-7th century, exactly the time you're talking about, this is the time that Uthman would have been commissioning from Zayd ibn Thabit, the final text. And so they said, this could be possibly Uthman's own text. And that went all over the world. And they looked at the dates, and the dates in radiocarbon, as I said earlier, they went from 578 up to 699 with a 95% probability for that time period. 68 probability with the dates 614 to 656, and 75.1% probability for the dates before 646. So you can see there's all these different probabilities, but that's very technical. But the conclusion of these two authors is that this was, if you look at those dates, this must have been written about the time of Uthman, just slightly before the time of Uthman, within 15 years of the Prophet's death. That caused huge shockwaves all over the world. And of course, you can see why people like Van Putten love this, because this fits the Noldeki Schwali paradigm, the narrative that this manuscript, here's an example of a manuscript that comes from the time of Uthman. This is what the Islamic narratives talk about. Another scholar named Christian Robin in English, but Robin in French, decided to take that same manuscript and take the same segment, but send it to other labs, because this was just one lab there in in Arizona, sorry. And so I'm going to put this, if we could go to the screen now. I want to put up the screen now. I want to show you what he found when he looked at this Sana manuscript. So let's go look at the screen, and you can see the the one that was done in 2007, written up by Ben Amsadeghi and Bergman, dates was 578 to 669. That's the Arizona laboratory. Robin wanted to go to other laboratories, so he sent it to the Lyon lab, which is there in France, Lyon, France, and got the dates that range from 388 to 643. Now let's look at those three dates. There you can see I'm putting them up there on the screen. You have chapter or Surah chapter 6, verse 159. That's dated 643 to 640. That's about the same date there. Then you have the Surah 20, verse 74, 433 to 599, then 388 to 535. You can see the graph there on the left. And that should be 543 to 643. So I misprinted there. That should be a 543 to 643 for the Surah 6. So three different folios and completely different dates. That caused a problem. This suggests that these surahs were written even before Muhammad began to receive the Quran.
Right, and as people can see it, see that Darush jumped to the rescue and said that the height itself, the leather itself, could be the one that we're faced with that early dates.
Yeah, obviously this is a real problem because that's just a second lab, just one other lab above and beyond in the Arizona lab, which there's a lot of parameters that come up. And Darush really comes back on this, and so does Shoemaker. And Shoemaker says if we're already getting these different dates from different folios within the same manuscript.
Inconsistency, basically.
Obviously, what you're looking at is these folios that come from different goats.
That's right.
Killed at different time
Exactly.
periods. And some of them could have been there for decades. Others could have been there for a century. Others could have been maybe a few weeks earlier when they finally used it.
Which means it cannot prove that the writing happened during the time of Uthman.
Absolutely. So can you just see from one piece that was from different folios, not just from one folio, not just from one, and remember, it's just a little part of a folio, you can see that you're getting different dates, 543 to 643, 433 to 599, 388 to 535. That is a range of 388 to 643. You're talking almost 200 years range just from those three folios, proving that there's a problem with radiocarbon dating. What I'd like to do next, however, is go even beyond that, because it wasn't just sent to Lyon. It was sent to two other labs, another lab in Zurich and another lab in Germany. So now we're going to look at, in the next episode, what I want to do in the next episode is look and see what happens when you send it to four labs, comparing it with the one in America. Sorry, not the one in America. Let's pull back from the Arizona. They wanted to compare the Arizona one with the one from Oxford, from Lyon, from Zurich, and from Kiel. Look and see what we get just by looking at one fragment. Now, this is just not three different folios. Now we're just talking about one fragment, but four different labs. And you're going to see that this problem is even enlarged. So that's what we're going to do next as we unpack this. We're going to look at those other labs to show you that this is not only inaccurate, it's also making the point that Shoemaker said very beginning, and that is, be careful what you're dating. You're dating just the death of the animal and the time of carbon deterioration from that death.
And Jay, let me ask a question. So we go back to Van Putten. Smart guy. It's obvious that he is passionate about the field, and he's writing a lot of articles and so on and so forth. Someone like Van Putten or others like him, how come they do not really at least acknowledge the dilemma, the problem, in relying on carbon dating as a proof of something like the Osmanic tradition?
I think what you're having here is there's a difficulty because, and I haven't talked to Van Putten, I don't know him, I would love to ask him this question, but I think what you're having is that these people have to keep to a certain agenda. They have a presupposition in place. And if you start from the presupposition that everything happens at the mid-7th century, at the time of Uthman, and he commissioned five. Remember, it's the Islamic tradition from the 9th century. This is from Al-Bukhari. This is from the late 9th century, 870, that gives us the story. And it's from 850 to 870, that's 240 years later, redacted back to the 7th century, that tells us for the first time that it's Uthman that has Zayd ibn Thabit create this one manuscript, which 5 copies are made. One was left in Medina, one was sent to Mecca, one was sent to Basra, one was sent to Kufa, and one was sent to Damascus. Therefore, these 5 manuscripts must exist. We're only talking about 1400 years ago. So that's the Islamic narrative. That's the standard Islamic narrative that Van Puten's trying to prove.
But that's written by Al-Dani. But in the same breath, in the same area, in the same paragraph, Al-Dani gives other alternatives. It was 5, and then it could have been 7, it could have been 9. So why are we hung up on 5 only?
Well, you're right. It could be, because he also talks about Alexandria. He also talks about
Bahrain,
Aden. He also talks about what are the other places that are way off in the east. So he gives 9 different cities.
Right.
And I think because of that, there was a dispute even in the 9th century. But these are all 9th century. When you're redacting it back, you can pretty much say any thing you want. Nonetheless, whether it's 5 or 9, you can see Van Puten's problem. He has got to support that. That's why he loves carbon dating, because he's now suggesting that these are the ones that Al-Dani and also Al-Bukhari are referring to. Well, is that so?
But they were written later.
Ah, yes.
The accounts
but
of
carbon
Al-Dani
dating
Al-Bukhari
then puts it up to the 7th century. He says, therefore, we can trust the standard Islamic narrative. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. We're going to show you that the radiocarbon dating is not trustworthy. That's for the next episode.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us here. Until next time, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel CIRA International and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.